had one job. One job. Like, I wake up every single morning and my one job is to make videos for you guys. But if you're talking about the general manager of the Colorado Rockies, Jeff Bridich, I'm pretty sure that's how you say his last name. His one job the last 10 seasons was to get Nolan Arenado a contract extension. And what happened in 2019? Exactly that. Nolan Arenado signed an 8-year deal that goes all the way until I think 2026. But the thing that you might not realize is that Nolan Arenado can opt out after 3 seasons. So I think what the Rockies are doing right now, they're trying to avoid the Pujols going to LA situation. So Pujols, he was really good in LA for the first 2 seasons, and then age really crept up to him. So maybe the Rockies are thinking, okay, we have to make sure that Nolan is uncomfortable and he wants to leave after the 3rd season. What are you doing? I think that we can all agree that Nolan Arenado is probably the best third baseman in baseball. I think Matt Chapman is slowly creeping up. There's Anthony Rendon. Josh Donaldson is really good when he's on top of his game. But in my opinion, I don't think that you can find a better overall third baseman since Adrian Beltre. And okay, that's Nolan Arenado that we're talking about. He's young, he's ready to go, and you botch it. The best way that I can describe this situation is, maybe you don't remember, but back in 2014, the guy that was running the Olympic show, he had one job, and that was to get all of the rings to open up at the end of the ceremony. And what happened? This is pretty much the Rockies right now. What they did, this ring did not open up, and that's them trying to fix the Nolan Arenado situation. So clearly this is not going to end well, and if you guys don't believe me, Jeff Passan actually tweeted that this could get very, very ugly very soon. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to give all the reasons why the Rockies, they should cut bait with Nolan Arenado as soon as possible, probably before the season starts, because really, they lost 91 games last year. Their pitching is what needs the most help. And Nolan Arenado, as good as he's been, he's not helping them win 90-plus games. So that's exactly why they need to trade him right now. When he's at his peak performance, when he has the most trade value, kind of like how Francisco Lindor, it would have made the most sense to trade him today because he has that ceiling of he's really good. But as opposed to in a year from now, maybe injuries and a dip in performance could really hinder his trade value. He's not happy. Nolan Arenado actually came out and said that he feels disrespected. He did somewhat retract those statements, but if you are a person with common sense, you know that that was just a PR stunt. I fully believe Nolan Arenado. They have not signed anyone of importance since Daniel Murphy, and even then Murphy was injured for the most part of 2019. Kyle Freeland really wet the bed. Same with German Marquez and all their pitchers. So if you're thinking logistically what makes sense for both Nolan Arenado and the Rockies for a win-win situation, it's trading them. And it kind of sucks to say because I like Nolan in Colorado. The Coors Field effect is officially tearing down because Larry Walker is now in the Hall of Fame, so maybe Nolan can win a few MVPs. Now that we can agree that Nolan is both a beast on the road and at home, just like Larry Walker and Todd Helton, I just don't think that it's going to happen. I don't think we're going to see it because these are the teams, in my opinion, are better suited to trade for Nolan Arenado than the Rockies are to keep him. Here we go. Now, 2 quick little things I do want to bring up is the fact that Trevor Story, he can carry this franchise. He is that good of a baseball player that even if the Rockies do trade Nolan Arenado, they will have a face of the franchise and a young Trevor Story. It'll be a storybook ending. You guys like that pun, but they have Story in place at shortstop. They also have a lot of top prospects that can come up, whether it's Brendan Rodgers or Garrett Hampson. I think the Rockies will be fine offensively. David Dahl's in there, Daniel Murphy. There's a lot of good pieces in that lineup, so don't fret. But the main concern right now is their pitching. They had the 2nd worst team ERA in 2019, and that's exactly what they need. They need a catcher because Tony Walters is not going to get it done, and then they need some pitchers. So the first team that comes to mind as a win-win trade is the St. Louis Cardinals, and this has actually been floating around for quite some time. Just to give you a quick perspective on how good this would be, the Rockies would be getting a bunch of prospects in return, and probably Dakota Hudson. Hudson showed that he can be a number 2 or maybe even an ace as his career progresses. Maybe he throws a little bit harder, maybe his curveballs and off-speed gets a little bit better. Hudson can be the real deal, and the Cardinals already have acquired Matt Liberatore. They have a prospect in Nolan Gorman, so they can even get a power-hitting third baseman in return for Nolan Arenado. That's the trade that I would do. The Rockies, they would send Nolan Arenado to the St. Louis Cardinals to play with. I mean, they just lost Marcell Ozuna, so they do need a power bat to combine with Dexter Fowler and all of the other guys on their team. Paul Goldschmidt, hopefully he can rebound after having a down 2019. And then the Cardinals, they would get Matt Liberatore. They would probably have to get Matt Carpenter as well just to fill the void over over there at third base. Then you would get Nolan Gorman, or if you wanted to replace, maybe you put Daniel Murphy at first base, and then you move Brendan Rodgers to third base, and something along those lines. And David Dahl can play anywhere. Ian Desmond can play the infield. So there's a lot of wiggle room for the Rockies. You would get Nolan Gorman, put him at third base, or you would trade for Andrew, what's his last name? Andrew Knizner? I think that's how you say his last name. He is a power hitting catcher. He would be great in Colorado. I think that's a very fair trade. The Cardinals, they get their power bat. The Rockies, they get a power hitting catcher or third baseman. They get Matt Liberatore, a pitcher, and then also Dakota Hudson. That's a win-win. I would go for that first. Like I told you guys, we were going to talk about the Texas Rangers. So the Rangers lost out on Anthony Rendon. They lost out on Josh Donaldson, and they ended with Todd Frazier, who has a combined 734 OPS over the last 2 seasons. That is not going to cut it. When you're a Rangers fan, what are you used to seeing? You're used to seeing Michael Young at third base or Adrian Beltre. It's like going from Joe Montana to Steve Young or Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. You're completely content with who you have at third base. You don't have to think about it going into the next season. You know you have a competent third baseman. That is not the case in 2020. So the Rangers, they do have to part with a few pieces in order to get Nolan Arenado, but I think it would be a match made in heaven. So the Rangers, they've traded for Corey Kluber. They've given up pieces already, but they didn't give up their best pieces. They can trade Willie Calhoun, who is a monster at the plate. Samuel Huff is a top prospect at the catcher's position. Again, the Rockies are very weak at the backstop position, so that would be a huge hole filled in the future. And then last but not least, a guy that really intrigued me is a dude named Cole Winn. Cole Winn pitched at a high school called Silver Creek, and I think it's in California. It is one of the highest elevation schools in America. So if you think about it, Coors Field is a high elevation. Silver Creek is also high elevation. So you're getting a guy that is used to playing in a park where the ball is going to fly, so he's going to get the ground balls, he's going to get double plays. So Nolan Arenado in exchange for Cole Winn, Samuel Huff, and then Willie Calhoun to play the outfield. I think that would be awesome. You would probably have to move either Ian Desmond to third base or maybe even Brendan Rodgers to third base and have Garrett Hampson at second base. That would work. So the Rangers, that'd be my second team. The Braves, I'm not sure that this is going to work because they just signed Marcell Ozuna, but I guess it would make sense because now Nick Markakis is expendable. You do have Ender Inciarte, who is expendable because the outfield is completely crowded. And they also lost Josh Donaldson. Why do you not pay Josh Donaldson? The Twins only outbid the Braves by maybe $1 million. So the Braves, I would rather have Josh Donaldson than Marcell Ozuna. But they do have a hole at third base. Hitting Nolan Arenado would make a ton of sense. You have Mike Soroka. You probably have to give him up because he is someone that, even though the peripherals say that he's not going to be great in 2020, he dominated last year in his rookie season. You would get Tyler Flowers to catch for you. You get Nick Markakis or Ender Inciarte, and then also a top prospect in the name of Ian Anderson. I think that he is going to be a stud as a starting pitcher. So you get Soroka, Ian Anderson, your catcher, and anything else in between. The Rockies are going to ask for a ton of pitchers, and the Braves and the Cardinals, not really so much the Rangers. Those two teams have a ton to offer. So I think it goes Cardinals, Rangers, and then Braves. Those are the 3 teams that I think really will make a push to get him. And now these next couple teams, I don't think it's going to happen, but we have to talk about them. Considering the Nationals lost Anthony Rendon and then they did not have a chance to sign Josh Donaldson, they have a huge hole. Even though they re-signed Asdrubal Cabrera, they have Howie Kendrick and Trey Turner. That's a pretty solid infield, but you can't really count on Asdrubal Cabrera because he is getting pretty old. Trading for Nolan Arenado would instantly make the Nationals the team to beat in the National League, and I don't think it's not even really a competition. If they get Nolan Arenado, who is probably better than Anthony Rendon, they instantly become the best team in the National League for the 2nd year in a row because they just won the World Series. If they get Arenado, they're even better than they were. Face it. Next up would be the LA Dodgers. We all know that Nolan Arenado is from LA, so he would love nothing more than to go back home. And the Dodgers do have a ton of pieces. So here's how it would go. Nolan Arenado gets traded to the LA Dodgers, and the Dodgers would have to send back Gavin Lux. I think that Lux has to be a part of any trade. Maybe Arenado is better than Lindor, but the Dodgers were very reluctant to give up Lux for Lindor, so maybe it's the same situation, but I think it would have to be either Corey Seager or Gavin Lux, and then you'd have to get some prospects in Keibert Ruiz, who is a top catching prospect for the Dodgers, and possibly Tony Gonsolin. He's a guy that gets a lot of ground ball outs. He only had a .9 home runs per 9 in his first minor league season. I think that is that's really good. So yeah, I think the Dodgers would be a perfect fit. And then last but not least, the thumbnail is not clickbait. I do think that Nolan Arenado going to the Yankees would be so much fun to watch and great for baseball, because the Rockies, no one really watches them. But if you can get Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, Nolan Arenado, Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez, all on the same team, sign me up. I will watch pretty much every single Yankees game that I can, because they're out of market. I'm in Las Vegas. I can watch every single Yankees game that I want. That would be amazing. Plus, they do have the pieces in Miguel Andujar and Mike Tauchman. I think that Tauchman is one of the more not talked about players and underrated players going into 2020, simply because he doesn't have the playing time right now. But when he did, he was a great hitter and an excellent defender with the plus arm. Sign me up for Mike Tauchman. He's going to be a beast, and put him in Colorado. Wow, this dude might have a 950 OPS. I can pretty much promise that. But guys, thank you all so much for watching. I know that you really like my rant video, so I guess this was kind of like half rant video, half trades that make sense for Nolan Arenado. So if you want to see more videos like this, please let me know in the comment section down below. I'm super passionate about baseball. I'm not trying to yell at you guys, but it's baseball. Spring training is almost here. I'm getting hyped up. So let me know, which trade do you think would make the most sense for both teams? I think the Cardinals would be the #1, followed by the Rangers and the Braves. Thank you guys for watching. If you're a Rockies fan, I'm terribly sorry. Catch you in the next one. Peace out.